Hi there and welcome to this video. In this video, I want to do a tutorial for Cloudflare, a beginner's tutorial for Cloudflare. If you don't know how to use Cloudflare, by the end of this tutorial, you will be comfortable working with the Cloudflare platform. So the first thing I'm going to do is create an account. But before you even get to creating the account, you're going to need a domain. So make sure you have a domain that's working. In my case, I'm going to use this domain. So let me just copy it from there. Copy. The domain is registered on Spaceship, and Spaceship is a domain registrar, very affordable. If you want to use them, you can find my link in the description. They also offer other things like hosting, but I only use them for domain. So first off, let's create the account. And once you create the account, we're going to see how to set everything up step by step. So click there on Start for Free to get started with Cloudflare. If you already have an account, you can click there on Login. You can create your account with your Apple account, Google account, or you can use your email. In this case, I'm going to try and create it with the Google account. And if I get any error, I'm just going to enter the email there. So continue with Google. I can use this account. Haven't used it in a while, so probably it's going to give me problems, but just let's see. More ways to verify. Nothing. So I know this is probably not going to get to send me this code. Usually it doesn't send it, so I'm just going to go back and start the creation process with the email instead of using Gmail directly. So I'll come back on the homepage for cloudflare.com and then start for free to sign up for Cloudflare. Put the email in there, and then you can generate a password, and then I will paste verify your humanity and then sign up. Alright, so this is where you're going to need your domain. But before I do that, let's go to the email and check if there's a verification requirement, and there is. So I'm going to verify my Cloudflare email, and I'm going to enter the domain I was going to use, which is that. Enter the domain, remove all these extra items, just the domain name, nothing else, just the domain name, and then continue. Okay, so the next step is Cloudflare is going to scan the internet and check, does this domain have DNS records already? If it does, then these records are going to get pulled into Cloudflare. If you don't want to do that, you can enter manually the records, or you can upload a DNS file. So Cloudflare has multiple functionalities. We're going to see them. First of all, let's finish signing up. So I'm going to quick scan. The benefit of quick scanning is that you can actually move a domain which is live. If your website is already running on that domain, by automatically scanning those records, Cloudflare will pull them in and your website will not go offline. So free plan, that's the one we are going to go with. Choose a plan there. So it has scanned the internet for our DNS records, and let's see what it's got. So it's got these records. These are from Spaceship, and we're going to change it. This don't mean anything for now. We can edit them later when I show you how to add a website on this domain, or you can delete them right now. You can delete them and add records later. So because I'm going to show you that, I can as well just delete all these records. I've deleted these records, and I'm just going to continue with the activation of this domain on Cloudflare. So confirm that you'll add the records later. Yes, I will add them later. For now, what's important is you need to go to wherever you bought your domain from, and then change your records, your name servers to match these records. So for me on Cloudflare, for me on Spaceship, this is something I can easily do. So I can click there to copy the first record, and then I'll go to Spaceship. So it doesn't matter which domain provider you're using. Whichever provider you're using, there is somewhere where you can change your name servers, your DNS name servers. So for me, I'm going to go into Spaceship, and click on Launchpad. I'm already logged in and I want to go into Domain Manager. Here on the Domain Manager, I'm going to select that domain and then I'll click there on Name Server and DNS. And you can see right now, it says that Spaceship is responsible for the name servers. I don't want that, so I'm going to click on Change to change the records. And you can see there is Spaceship on this end. I'll just click to go to Custom Name Servers. So as I said, just find where you can change your name servers from your domain provider, and that's what you need to do. Add Custom Name Servers. Let's go back and get the second one. The second one, click and copy. Add it there and then save name server settings. All right, so just give it a bit of time. Usually they say it can take up to 48 hours, but within 5 minutes this will be ready. So come back to Cloudflare and now we can complete the steps. I'll just continue. All I have to do is wait. Okay, I'm just going to wait for a while and it will send me an email once the domain is activated here. Once the domain is activated, you can enable Cloudflare security features. You can change DNS records. You can change subdomain records on the same DNS location. I'll show you how to do that. You can also enable the cache for the Cloudflare cache, which is already there by default, but you can come in here and check what options they provide. So let's just wait, and once it's active, we're going to look at all of those. So let's click to check name servers. Even before I go into the domain, I can click there. Up there, this is where your account is. So I can just click there on the domain, on the account I mean, and it's going to take me to the home of the account. So the good thing with Cloudflare is that you can actually add people to manage your Cloudflare account. If you wanted to do that under manage account, you can add members. So this allows you to add people. Maybe you want to give somebody authority to change the DNS records for your website or move them to Cloudflare, and you already have a Cloudflare account. Just tell them to send you their email, and then you can add your email here. But before you do that, let's look at two-factor authentication, because that is required for this feature. So you can enable this, and this is going to ensure that if somebody doesn't have two-factor authentication set up, they cannot manage your account, and this is good for security. Once you set up your own two-factor authentication, you can enable this. So let's look at that, because that's important. We need to set up two-factor authentication. So I'm going to come here and go there to profile and see what's under profile. This is where you can come here under authentication and you can enable two-factor authentication. So let's set this up, and then we're going to go back to preferences and see what we have there. So two-factor authentication setup, security key, mobile app authentication. Just download Google Authenticator and use that. So scan it. Just open Google Authenticator on your phone, and then you can scan the QR code. And then after that, we'll just go to the next step. Enter the 6-digit code. So enter the code you can currently see on your Authenticator app, 919. Next. And you need to enter your password, print all of this, and download them. Next. Recovery code setup is now complete. Next. If you want to log in, if you're going to log in, you're going to log in and then also enter the code on your application. This is important. Make sure you set it up. Then let's come back to preferences. On the preferences, you can change the appearance for your Cloudflare. I'm going to go with dark mode. And then language preference as well. Wherever you are, just change your language appropriately there. You can see the supported languages are there. And then communication preferences. If you want to receive communication from Cloudflare, you can select those. You can select the communication you want to receive from there. So if you want to change this, you can just click there on edit, and whatever you want to receive, you don't have to allow it. For instance, if you don't want to receive news about product news and promotions, disable that and save. At some point, you're going to need to work with Cloudflare APIs, tokens. So maybe you're installing something on WordPress and they tell you you need to add an API key. So you can click there under your profile, go to API tokens, and you can select API keys right there. Create one if you need to. They're there. They're pretty self-explanatory. And you can view, enter your user password and continue, create it and then copy it. So let's go back and see if our website is ready. So I'm going to click there on Cloudflare. So now it's showing it's active. And if I click on the domain, I can go to the domain. And one thing that most people use Cloudflare for is DNS and the cache. So I'm going to come here under DNS. And this is where you can add your DNS records. If you want to host a website, you have to add your DNS records here. For example, let's say I want to add this domain. I want to add this domain on the Bizanosa shared hosting. So let's say I come here and I go to domains. I can add a domain, add new domain. Just add the domain first and then you'll add the records, and then the path for the domain in this control panel. I can just enter the same name as that. SSL certificate, don't issue the certificate now because the domain still is not pointed to the server. So let's save. So it says that the domain already exists. It probably exists on a different account. I might have used it for an example at some point. Actually, this is a nice opportunity for me to show you how to add a second domain to Cloudflare. So let's come back here, and this domain seems to be using Cloudflare already. Yeah, the domain is already using Cloudflare, but this is not a problem. We're just going to change the records to match what we have now. So let me copy the domain, go back to Cloudflare, and I'm going to add a second domain. So let me add this domain here, connect a domain. So enter an existing domain, paste, and then quick scan for DNS records, and then continue. So I'm going to select the free plan. If you come here, you're going to see these are some of the records on the other Cloudflare account. I can delete them because I don't need them for anything, but if you need yours, don't delete them. I'm going to add them again. I'm going to add the relevant domains again, the relevant records again. Okay, I can leave the TXT records and I will continue to activation. Okay, so let me change this, and you can see it's already using Cloudflare on a different account. So I'll just need to change the records to point to this. I'll come back here, go to name servers, and I will change the records custom. It's already custom, so I'm just going to enter and then save. Come back, click continue. So if I come here to DNS, I can copy the domain name and then come back here. Let's see if I've used this before. And I'm going to add it here, just like I was trying with this. So I'll paste the name and then save. We're going to use this as an example and add the DNS records on Cloudflare and see how you can host your website via the Cloudflare DNS and cache and all the security related things. So there you go. You've added the domain on Cloudflare and you've added the domain to your control panel. The next step is to get your DNS records and add them to Cloudflare. So I'll come here under DNS, whichever control panel you're using, make sure you go to the DNS and then you get the DNS records from there. and then you add them to your Cloudflare account. You can see in my case, my records are here. I'm going to need the IP. So this will be my main entrance for the domain, the A record. So if I need to issue SSL, I have to enter my A record domain on Cloudflare. So just copy all this over to Cloudflare. So the first record we need is the A record, and the A record is going to match at shift at. So at simply signifies the domain name, and then I'm going to enter that. I'm also going to show you how you can host subdomains on your free Cloudflare account. So it's just added on the same place, but I'm going to show you how to do it. So proxy, you can proxy. Proxy is what gives Cloudflare the authority to cache your website, to secure your website. If you disable this, you've disabled Cloudflare security and cache and all the things that come with Cloudflare as a benefit. If you disable this right now, Cloudflare is only being used for DNS. So I'll do it for now, but once I've issued an SSL certificate, I'll come back in proxy and you're going to see that it still works. So I'm going to save. And for me to issue an SSL, I still need www for this account, www for the domain. So I'll add another record and I will add a CNAME record, and it will be for www. And then for the target, I'm just going to use at to signify the domain name. And for this one as well, I'm going to disable proxy, and then I'm going to save. So this part is just how to add your DNS records. Okay. For mail as well, let's see the records for mail are this. So the point is, make sure you copy all these records. Maybe this one you don't need because you're not using this as your name server. But all the others, copy them over to Cloudflare. Let's show all the records. 25 will show all the records. So let's say maybe we wanted to add for mail, right? For mail. So if that is your mail server, that's the mail record that they give you. You can just come in here and add the record mail and enter the IP for mail. And on mail, every time you add any record related to mail, make sure it's not proxied. Always make sure it's not proxied because it won't work. For other records, you can proxy them. Like these ones, I'll proxy them at some point. So let's come back and just confirm that the DNS is actually now pointing to Cloudflare. Let's refresh. So now that the domain is active and effectively using Cloudflare, let's go and check if we can issue SSL on this end. So to issue SSL, where do I get this? Domains, auto SSL. This should issue Let's Encrypt SSL. So choose the domain. On this panel, I can select to issue all these extra SSLs, but since I've not added all the DNS records, that will make this work. Maybe this is going to work because I added the mail record that points to the server. Yeah, so that might work. This one's probably not. This one's definitely not. So I'm just going to click there on install. All right, success. Now SSL is working for this domain. We've connected it to Cloudflare. I can click there on go. And you can see the domain has SSL connected. And if I look at the SSL, this is an important part I want to show you because you're going to see a difference once I enable Cloudflare. So here you'll see that it says Let's Encrypt as our certificate. If you see there, you'll see Let's Encrypt. So let's go to Cloudflare. I want to enable proxying. So this is where Cloudflare security comes in. So there on the first one, which is the main domain, I'm going to enable proxy. So when you enable proxy, it's like telling Cloudflare that any traffic that comes to my website has to first of all pass through you. For www as well, we're going to save that So now these two are being proxied via Cloudflare. So if I come back here, let me just do shift reload. It still works. I also want to change the SSL settings on Cloudflare. So the SSL settings can be changed here. SSL TLS. In this case, it's full and we're going to leave it there. If you experience any problems, you can try flexible. You can also generate certificates for your server on Cloudflare. I'm not going to look into this, but it's something that you can do. You can create origin certificates, and these are certificates that when you add on your server and you connect Cloudflare, Cloudflare can use the full strict certificate, that the full strict SSL that was there. I'm not going to look into that as well, but you can create a certificate. The certificate validity can be chosen from there. Okay. So if you need certificates for your server, this is something you can get from here, origin certificates. And these are intended for you to put on your server so that your server can communicate with Cloudflare. Cloudflare is going to use that as a signal to give you trusted, full, strict certificates right here. That's a tutorial I can do in another video, but for now, let's just continue. Now, under security settings, let's see what else is there. So let's just try the new dashboard. I was wondering why I wasn't seeing it. It seems like it's not default for every account. So you can take the overview, see what you can get, but basically all the traffic overview settings will be here. DDoS attack, if you want to manage DDoS, is there. One thing you might want to enable is bot traffic, right? So you can click there on settings and block AI bots, bot fight mode. When you enable bot fight, it means that most websites will not be able to access most useless bots will not be able to access your website. And that will save you bandwidth and resources. You can also block AI bots. So if you click there on configuration, you can block on all pages, block only on hostname. So you can select and block on all pages and save. And that's going to block the AI traffic, but it's really not that effective, to be honest. And then look at the security rules. If you want to add custom security rules to secure your workloads. So maybe say we create a rule for rate limiting, and we say that for this rule, let's give it a name of sample. We can give it a name of sample, and then incoming requests, if incoming requests match a URL path, right? Maybe they go into /wp content, and you might match it with another rule just like that, selecting the same things. But let's just select that WP content, and the rate exceeds maybe 100. So if they access WP content, the rate exceeds 100 per 10 seconds. So you can do your calculation based on that. So let's say maybe 1,000 per 10 seconds. Then you can block them for a certain duration. Block them for like 10 seconds. This is on the free plan. On the paid plan, there are much more rules that you can add, and you can customize it much better. So I'm just going to click there on deploy, and you can see your rule is there. And if you come here the next day, you can check if this rule was matched to any traffic to your website. So that's just some sample rules, various security things that you can do on Cloudflare. Something else you can do on Cloudflare is you can buy domains. If you want to buy registered domains on Cloudflare, you can do so. Just click there on your account, and here under domain registration, You can manage domains if you have domains that are currently registered on Cloudflare. So you can see I don't have a billing email, so on and so on, but you can register a domain. Let's say you want to register a domain called tyrestad.com. Search. The domain is 1044 and you can purchase the domain. For how long do you want to purchase the domain? Select that there and then enter all these details, your payment method, PayPal, credit cards, supported. That's as far as I can go as pertains to Cloudflare domain registration. And then maybe you want to transfer domains. So if you have domains that are connected to Cloudflare, your domains have to be connected to Cloudflare for them to be transferable to Cloudflare. You can see the issue here is that the domain is not unlocked, so I can't transfer it. So the first thing you'd have to do is go to your domain provider, unlock it, and you can transfer the domain to Cloudflare. Error here is registered in the last 60 days. So this domain cannot be transferred because it has to pass at least 60 days with the current registrar. And once you do that, you'll come back to the transfer section, reload that, and if your domain is now transferable to Cloudflare, you'll be able to select it and click the continue buttons, which will be available here. And then the next step will be for you to enter the authorization code for that domain, and then select your contacts for that domain and pay for the domain to be transferred into Cloudflare. You can manage your domains. If you have domains registered here, you can manage your domains. You can transfer them to other providers. You can change the DNS security for a domain. So up to this point, I believe you have an understanding of most of these things. Just click on them and see what they are. Some things I'm not going to look into because they're way past the beginner level. So the next thing, let me install WordPress on my domain, and then we're going to see how we can add a subdomain. And then the last thing I want to do in the tutorial is to show you how to do redirects, how to redirect your domain from maybe one domain to another. We're going to see how to do that. So after waiting all that time, let me try to refresh this domain and see if there is any SSL issue, as we have enabled Cloudflare SSL. So let's come to connection is secure, certificate is valid, and now you can see the certificate says that it's been issued by Cloudflare. Okay, let's come here and install WordPress. So I'll come here to script installers, software class, and I want to install WordPress. So install WordPress. So if I click there on install, I want to install it on this. I've already set up SSL. We're not going to install in a directory. Everything else, I'm just going to leave them at default. I don't know if there's anything I need to enter. I just want to install. Congratulations, the software was installed successfully. So let's go to the domain. That is just due to cache. I can do shift reload, and now WordPress is installed. We can also log into the backend to confirm that WordPress is working well. So that is Bizanosa hosting. You can check it, you can look at it. Very affordable. We don't make any money from, I really don't make any money from that, to be honest. Just a place for you to go and host your website. If you're a beginner with a small website, there's no reason why you should spend a lot of money for hosting your brand new small website. So you can check it out on bizanosa.com. I'll put the link below. So there you go. WordPress is installed and it's running via Cloudflare. So one of the benefits of Cloudflare, if somebody tries to scan, let's maybe see if we can scan the WordPress theme being used. Or let's scan for Sukuri site check. I just want to see if Cloudflare is going to block my website from being scanned. Let's add there, submit. So it says scan failed, and that is because of Cloudflare 4.3 forbidden. That means that Cloudflare is blocking these websites from scanning our website. So that's just one benefit of using Cloudflare. At the same time, you can see that if I access, let's do shift reload. If I access my website, you can see I can access it. So maybe sometimes you don't want to do that. You can put your website under, you can put it under attack mode in Cloudflare. So let's come to the domain, click on it, and then we can put it under attack mode. Okay, under attack mode is just here. Okay, you can see it there. Quick actions, put your website under attack mode. You've noticed that some website is successfully scanning your website at a high rate. Some domain, some IP, just put it under attack mode. And now if somebody tries to go to the website, they will have to deal with the Cloudflare captcha. So if you want to access my website, you have to deal with the captcha there. Okay, so what else did I promise to teach you? While I'm here, let me just talk about a few things that you can do here. One of the few things that you can do is you can pause Cloudflare. So you can see right now, my under attack mode open in a new private window. Under attack mode is active. If you want to deactivate Cloudflare for a moment, you can pause Cloudflare. You can also remove your website from Cloudflare. So here I'm just going to click on pause Cloudflare and pause it. When you pause, the security elements will not work. What will work, what will continue working is DNS. Let's look at how we can do a redirect with Cloudflare. If you want to redirect your domain from one domain to another, let's see how we can do that. Let's go back to our account settings. Say that we want to redirect this domain to another domain. I'm going to come down here under rules. There are two ways. Currently, there are two ways to do redirects, to do redirection. First one, you can use page rules, which is the old way, or you can use these rules. I don't know if it's just called rules, but you can use these rules. You can see under overview of rules, there are templates which are here for you to use. You can redirect HTTP to HTTPS. You can redirect www to the root domain. You can cache everything. You can redirect to a different domain. So let's say I want to redirect to a different domain using these templates for rules. I can create a rule. You can give it a different name there. I'll leave it there with that name. And then you can use a wildcard pattern. So for example, in this case, then you can direct. So of course, as a beginner, these rules are not making any sense, right? Hopefully the redirect that you want to do is just a wildcard redirect. So when you request this domain, which is Arwahoa, let me just do HTTP and I will put that. This means that somebody requests this plus any other URL there you want to redirect it to. Let's redirect it to HTTPS Bizanosa.com. You can see these rules here. So this will simply mean that if somebody requests with a URL, it will redirect to that URL. You can look at the documentation for the redirect rules on Cloudflare. So the first one, it's going to take that. It will be a 301 redirect. Let me just deploy it, even though it's not going to work yet. The rule may not apply to your traffic. Your DNS configuration may not be proxying traffic. Yeah. So when you see this, it means that you don't have any IP in the A record. Without that, this will not work. So let's just deploy rule. Oh man, I actually missed a nice opportunity there for Cloudflare to to do something for me. So let me try to duplicate the rule. Let's place it at first. If you have multiple redirect rules, they can be placed in different positions. So let me put this at first and deploy, and let's see. Hopefully it's going to bring that back. Nice. So I'm just going to create a new proxied DNS record, and Cloudflare has default IPs that I can use, 192.20.1, that one which is there, and I can create and deploy the rule. I can delete this rule, delete, and let's try and see if this is going to redirect. Okay, so for some reason it's not redirecting. So the issue is probably here in the DNS record I've used. This has to be proxied. Let's find another sample A record, Cloudflare alias. Okay. So these are some samples, redirect one domain to another. These are some sample IPs that you can use. Okay, this is the one I'm using there. Okay, let me add www and c, and I want to add it as a CNAME, www at save. Now I'm not going to try and debug this, but I know I can get it to work. You can actually redirect everything using page rules. So let's redirect via page rules, bizanosa.com. So I'll copy that and let's come back. And if this doesn't work, the problem is here at the DNS level. So let's come to page rules again, rules, and I'm just going to click on page rules. So this is the easiest way to do a redirect to another domain. So here I can create a page rule. So this is where the URL will be. First I want to select this because I've already copied it. Forwarding URL, and the status will be 302 temporary. Destination URL, paste. So this is a destination URL. So if anybody comes to arwahowa.com, copy, can I do a star at the beginning? So if somebody comes to this domain or subdomain, it should redirect to that. So this one always works. So if it doesn't work, the rule may not apply to your traffic. Your DNS configuration may not be proxying traffic. So the problem is the DNS has not propagated. Okay, so I see. Because the fact that Cloudflare is telling me this means that my DNS has not propagated. So that's why the other one is not working. So just need to give it time. But let's try anyway. Yeah, so the problem is the DNS records. Let's confirm this in DNS checker. DNS checker. So the point is you can't do a redirect if your domain doesn't have an A record. An A record or a code A record. So let's search this and see. Okay, you see it's pointing to a different IP. Some of this, no, actually this is Cloudflare. This is definitely Cloudflare. So this looks like Cloudflare IPs. These are definitely Cloudflare IPs. So why isn't it redirecting? Control C, Control Shift N, Control V, enter. Let's use a VPN. You see, it's working. Yeah, so the issue was DNS. Okay, even the first one is probably working. So the issue is DNS. Okay, so at least I've confirmed that it's working. Okay, that's all I wanted to see. It has not propagated in my location, but it's propagated in other places. Yeah, so the issue was just DNS, and you can disable that if you don't want the redirect anymore. So what is the last thing I need to show you guys before I end this video? It's becoming too long. The video is becoming too long. So let's go to DNS and let's see how you can host a subdomain. This is important. I know some people usually use subdomains for marketing, for blogs, and for different things. So let's see if this is your situation, how will you go about it? So let's go to the other domain that's working and come here into that domain. Let's go back to, so let's say I want to add another domain. Let's bring the domain back online, or rather, let's make the domain work with Cloudflare again. Open link in a new private window. Okay, you can see after you wait a while, the thing is gone. That under attack mode is not working, and that is if you pause Cloudflare. So you can enable, you can resume. Just click there on Cloudflare resume to resume it. Let's come to DNS. Say that you want to add blog.your domain, right? How are you going to do that? So we want to add a blog.domain. We want to install another WordPress on blog.domain. Let's see how to go about that. Our IP is that. So I'm going to add a record, the subdomain, which is blog, and the IP for that will be our IP, our server IP. And I can leave it unproxied for now until I issue SSL. Once I issue SSL, I can come back and proxy it. Save that, and that's all you need. I mean, you still need to add the other records, for example, for mail and all that, but that's the bare minimum to get this to work as a website. The bare minimum, the absolute bare minimum. So I'm going to come back here. Where's my panel? There. So here, go to control panel. Let us add a subdomain. So here under domains, subdomains, and add a new subdomain. And I want to add a subdomain for that. So let's say I want to add a subdomain for blog. So I'll type blog up there and select this domain, and I'll leave that as it is. And as for SSL, I don't know whether it's going to issue it, but we can just select it because I've already added the A record with the IP. So let's just save that. Save. Subdomain already exists. So it was created the first time and didn't issue SSL, didn't tell me. So let's go to all domains and see if the subdomain is listed there. So here we only have domains. Let's go to domain and list subdomains. So we have blog.accommodator is there. Now let's go to SSL, auto SSL, and let's select the subdomain there. And the fact that it validated and didn't bring any error, it means that we can now issue the SSL. Okay, so the SSL has been issued. You can go to the domain, the subdomain I mean, and this is just equivalent to how you'd go about it on your hosting provider. So there you go. The domain is working, the subdomain is working. Let's see how to install WordPress on it. I'll go with Softaculous for that. And then I can click there on install a fresh copy of WordPress. And I will select the subdomain. And I'm just going to install with all the default settings. There we go. The installation is done. Let's click on it, and then I'll do shift reload. There you go. WordPress is now there as well. And let's go back to DNS and check which other DNS records you'll need to add and how you can add them. So let's go to DNS functions, DNS zone, and let's select. So for the DNS, it's been added to that. It's just been bundled together with this. And you can see there we have blog for the A records. Let us list more records here. So you can see, in fact, this is exactly how you'd add it on Cloudflare. Just add them together like this. For example, www.blog, you can add that. And to add mail.blog, you can do that. So for example, let's add an A record for mail.blog, mail.blog, and then you add the IP for mail. Of course, you want to uncheck it, webmail.blog, and then you add the IP there, and then save. Maybe you want to create a CNAME for www for blog. You can do www.blog, the main domain, and then save. So that's pretty much how you'd add a subdomain. So this video has been slightly long, but I hope you've learned something, especially if you're completely new to Cloudflare. So you can look at all these other options and see what else you have here. Before I end, there is one that you might want to use on your forms. If you come here to my website and you go to contact, you'll see down here the Cloudflare Turnstile. So it's called the Cloudflare Turnstile, and that's something that is down here. Click on your account and come to Turnstile, and you can enable it. On WordPress, you have to install a plugin. So here on the dashboard, just go to plugins. Just go to plugins, add plugin. So I can look for Cloudflare simple Cloudflare Turnstile capture. I believe this is the one. Install it, and wherever you have a form, it will automatically add the Cloudflare Turnstile to deter bots from entering fields in your form. So you need to get these settings from Cloudflare. In a moment, let me show you how to get them. So settings, this is what it works with: WordPress login, WordPress register, WordPress reset password, and WordPress comments. Other integrations. So there are other things that if you install will be added here. For example, contact forms will be added here. Some of them will be added here. All right. So let's see where we can get the site key for this. And for that, I'm going to copy. For that, I'm going to copy this and then come back to Turnstile settings, and I can click on add widget. So I can add a host name. Actually, I can just click there. Okay, this host name has already been added. So it's here. Okay, once you add it, it's here. So instead of typing it, just come and add the host name down here. And for this host name, we're going to click there on add. Once we add it, we can get the API keys that we need for Turnstile, that we need for Cloudflare Turnstile. So widget name, let's just call it the name of my domain, a widget. So if you want to use this for multiple host names, you can just select the other host name from there and add it. Just click on add, it will be added to this widget. And widget mode, so you can use managed. Cloudflare will use information from the visitor to decide if they're a bot or not. That is the short version. Non-interactive, this is not going to show anything. The visitors will just see an interaction, or it can be invisible, but they might see something. So here we can select non-interactive. Okay, and then click on create. You'll get your keys, and these keys, make sure you save them somewhere, because this is the first and the last time you'll ever see them. So make sure you copy them and save them somewhere if you ever need to reuse them on in another application or in another plugin. So site key, there it is, and then here I will copy, or you can just click there to copy and then paste. Maybe you want it to be dark mode, so the item that will be shown will be light or dark. Let's say it's dark, and then I will save the changes. All right, so you can see here you can test the response. Please verify that you're human. So this is how it's going to appear because it's dark. If you want it to be light, you can change light. You can make it auto to go with your theme. Save the changes. And now you can see it's light. So if I was to try to log in, let's visit this on a private window. It's going to show me the WordPress login. First of all, since this is enabled, this is going to take place. This is because of the under attack mode I enabled. I should probably disable that. All right, then after that, I can also try to go to WP admin. There we go. You can see now it's there. So this has been a slightly long video, and by the end, I hope you are comfortable working with Cloudflare. If you have any problems, Cloudflare usually have documentations for everything they do. Cloudflare employs a lot of people. I'm sure some of them are working on documenting Cloudflare. So for anything you want to use, just find the documentation page for it. You'll usually find that there's probably a documentation link on the page where you are. All right, that's the end of this tutorial. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know, but I would prefer if you go to the documentation. There are other features on Cloudflare that I haven't looked at. You may not use them, but if you ever find yourself in a situation where you'll need to use one, look at the documentation. That's it for this video. See you next time.